Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. What we're going to be talking about today is how to think like a programmer, right? Now, what does that mean? What does it mean to think like a programmer? In the most basic way, what I can explain it as is how to problem solve, right? Because that's essentially the entire purpose of a software engineer, of a programmer, is just solving different problems. Now, a lot of people think that when a programmer has a job or when they're just coding, all they're doing is just coding and writing code, and that's basically all they're doing, right? But there's a lot more that goes into it, and one of the main parts is they're solving different problems. Now, like I said before, problem solving is probably the most important skill that a programmer can have. And there's a reason why when you're going to an interview, they ask you very abstract questions like, how many jelly beans are in this jar. They don't actually care if you can know what their answer is, but rather they want to know, how you approach the problem, what are your steps to finding a solution, and then how you actually present the solution. So it's not really, can you get it right, but are you able to think in a way that'll give you a kind of, ballpark right answer, and that's the most important part. And also, one thing to consider is that when you get a computer science degree, there's a ton of math involved. And now, while you may think that there's a lot of math involved in coding, the reality is there's not that much. And I believe that the reason why there's so much math involved when you're getting a computer science degree is because you're solving all these problems, and it really teaches you to become a better problem solver. Because math and coding are very similar, right? You get this problem that you don't know how to solve. You have a couple of ideas in your head, and you basically want to implement something and solve that kind of problem. So guys, that's what we're going to be talking about today, and it's how to become a better problem solver, because it's really very important when you're coding, regardless of whether you're a full-time software engineer or you're just beginning to learn how to code. Problem solving is always going to be a skill that you need, and if you can get better at it, that'll make your progress a lot faster, and that'll make you a better programmer. So guys, my name is John Vine. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, what we do is we talk about software engineering, and I try to basically give you guys tips from my experience so that you guys can achieve your goals of becoming software engineers as well. If you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe, and if you're a returning subscriber, thanks so much. So one of the first things I want you guys to consider is that all coding is you giving instructions to a computer. There's a problem you want to solve with code, and code are basically instructions. Each line is a different instruction you want to give, and then the computer executes it, right? So the computer doesn't really do anything. It's not that smart. It just uses your code to actually execute things. So what you have to do, in my opinion, a good thing to practice is that when you have a problem, try to dumb it down to as simple as possible, and that'll basically give you a better chance of solving a problem, right? Because if you can think of something in the most fundamental way, in the most dumbed down way possible, it'll make it a lot easier to digest, and then maybe you can get to a solution easier. Because guys, when there's a problem in your code, right, it's one of two things. You're either giving it the right instructions, but you're trying to accomplish a different task, or you're trying to accomplish the right task, but you're just giving the computer the wrong instructions, and so there's a bug there. It's trying to do what you're telling it to do, but you're just giving it the wrong instructions. That's kind of a simpler way to think about it. So it'd kind of be like if you ask me directions, like, John, I want to go work out, where's the gym, right? And I just give you the wrong directions. That's probably what's happening in your code when there's a problem. So if you think of it in the most dumbed down way, it'll really make you think like a programmer. One of the mistakes I've made in the past, especially when I was earlier on in my career, is that I would just get a problem, and then I would try a solution. I would think about it, try a solution, it wouldn't work. Try another solution, doesn't work. Try another solution, doesn't work. Maybe, 1 in 10 times, one of my solutions just works. And, that's awesome, but that's not really how your coding is going to go in general, right? What you want to be able to do is you want to be able to understand the problem and do that before you start implementing a solution. You want to really, really be able to understand the problem before you start, coding, before you start doing anything. And one of the things that can help you is, visualizing the problem, right? If there's a front-end component, maybe, you draw it out on a piece of paper, you understand how different things are communicating to each other, and that'll basically give you a better understanding of what's going wrong, right? Or if you're in the back end, maybe you can do something like draw a UML diagram, kind of see where everything is pieced together, and then you might be able to get more context into what's happening in the problem, right? But one of the things that I find most helpful is try to explain the problem to someone else, right? If you don't have anyone around you, explain it to yourself, like yourself in a mirror, or just say it out loud. One of the things that I've realized is that sometimes when I'm stuck coding and I ask a coworker or whoever it may be, and I start explaining to them what the problem is, I'm saying it out loud, and I'm like, yeah, this is happening, and then I'm like, oh wait, in my head I'm like, oh wait, I know how to solve it. And this is just because I took a step back from the code, and I just explained the problem. I just looked at the problem and tried to understand it, and then the solution just comes to you. I guarantee this has happened to you guys tons of times. Comment below if this has happened to you, because it's happened to me so many times. And so yeah, that's one of the biggest things. Like I said before, if you don't have anyone around you, doesn't matter, say it out loud or write it down in a notebook. I usually think saying it out loud is way better than writing it down, but whatever helps you understand the problem is really the goal. That's what we're trying to achieve here. You want to really be able to problem solve and increase your problem solving skills. One of the other things that I find extremely helpful is taking a problem and dividing it into a ton of smaller problems, right? I've talked about this before, and what this does is not only, one, does it make it a way less intimidating task, right? If you have one massive problem, you have no idea what to do, and then you dumb it down into 10 different problems that, if you complete them one by one, you'll end up solving the whole problem itself. That's way less intimidating, right? And you can actually go through, look at the first problem, be like, okay, I can do this. You implement a solution, and then you're like, okay, this works. And then you can follow the sort of same trend and complete the whole task you had originally, right? Also, what this gives you by dividing the problem into a lot of smaller problems, this usually gives you a better understanding of what the real issue is, right? Because you'll be able to go one by one and kind of inspect each little problem you have to kind of get a roadmap of how to solve the problem. And then that kind of gives you a better understanding of what the actual problem is. And one of the things, guys, you have to really, really get used to that I still struggle with today is you have to think of bugs and kind of technical problems that aren't code related, when you have like some setting wrong, or it's really frustrating because you can't really solve it with code, but kind of things like bugs and that, you have to think of them more of a challenge rather than something that's annoying, right? Because that'll actually get you, if you think about it as a challenge, you'll be like, okay, I can solve this, right? It'll make you more understand what you're doing instead of just implementing some solution. Oh, it works. Okay, next. Now I'm going to get to the real problem, right? These little problems that appear here and there, like these little bugs and these little technical problems, if you can actually understand what is going on with them and really, implement a proper solution, that'll decrease, not only will that decrease the chances of that happening again, and if you can understand these bugs in a more specific way, in a more detailed way, that might give you a better idea of how to implement an overall solution, right, to the big problem that you have. So guys, don't think of bugs and these little technical problems as something that's annoying. Think of it as a challenge. How you should think about any problem you run into when you're coding, think of it all as a challenge. If you can have this mindset, it's a really, really good positive mindset to have that'll make sure that you keep growing. And so guys, now what, right? I've told you, a couple of things that you can do to think like a programmer. And now what are the next steps, right? What you want to do is you want to do this every day. You want to do this as often as possible because your problem solving skills, you might not realize it, but they're going to get way better the more you solve different problems. And so if you can do this every day, it doesn't have to be coding, it could be something else. Maybe, I don't know. The only thing I come up with is like a math problem. I don't know how many math problems you guys want to do. I certainly don't want to do any. But if you can get into the habit of coding every day, solving problems every day, you're gonna see that your problem solving skills are getting so much better. And that's really like half of being a programmer is problem solving. I think it's just as important as your technical skills and how well you can code. So guys, try to solve problems as often as possible. Try to code as often as possible, and kind of do the things I explained in this video. Try to do them every day. And let me know how it works, right? If you guys enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you want to join the discussion. Or, if you think there's anything I missed or anything you agree or disagree with, feel free to leave a comment down below. And we have a lot of exciting content coming up, guys. A couple of different types of videos planned for the next upcoming weeks. And I'm really excited to show you guys because it's going to be pretty sweet. So guys, have a good day and enjoy your coding.